Good morning, gorgeosities. How are you all? I hope you're well. I'm well because the sun has come back out. We have sunshine and warmth. Oh my goodness. It's like the first time in July we've had a nice day. You know why, don't you? It's because Wimbledon has finished. Now, I know we didn't actually have Wimbledon this year, but it's like the weather gods have just got that fortnight booked into their minds and they say, right, let's chuck some rain down on London for these 2 weeks. Yes, it's a beautiful, warm, sunny day. Actually, we're never happy, are we? I could do with it being a bit cooler today because it's going to be a bit of a muscle day today. I can't wait. I love that kind of physical, get stuck in kind of job. So now, just to say, on my way down here today, this is a bit weird. I saw loads of flying ants. They seem really late. Because I always associate flying ants and the wisteria blooms being out as, in a way, that's my kind of, we're now about to go into summer. The flying ants are usually way back, when the wisteria is flowering. Anyway, a curiosity that caught my attention today. Now, I'm fully aware that in the last video I did a lot of talking. I think I talked for half an hour and was in the garden for 15 minutes. But I just wanted to share that kind of thought process about why I do certain things in the garden or why I'm about to. And I'm sure, I hope that many of you identified with that. It's like, I don't do Pinterest. You know this thing where you see images online and you almost make a sort of an online scrapbook? I think that's how it works. As I say, I don't do it. But it's that thing, isn't it, of over time things influence you and they sit in your mind and they sit here and they sit there. They're kind of pinned on the pinboard of the mind. That sounds like it ought to be a 60s song, On the Pinboard of My Mind. I'm thinking of that Windmills of My Mind song, aren't I? Anyway, yes. So, I'm sure you all do that too. And it's not just with our gardens, but, with all sorts of things in our lives, we see something that influences us and we don't necessarily act on it straight away, but it gets stored for future use. So, I just wanted to sort of expand on that about how all these different influences get stored, and then there comes a point when there's so many in there, it's like, right, now I have to get on and do. So, I'm aware it was a wordy, chatty one. Some people won't have liked that, but never mind. So I'm not going to chat any more this morning. We're going to get straight outside and get stuck in, because like I say, it's going to be a bit of a humpy-pumpy. No, it's not humpy-pumpy day, is it? Humpy-pumpy is special adult time, isn't it? A humping-lumping day, that's what I meant. Oh, crikey, the sun's gone to my head already. Let's have a humpy-pumpy day. Who cares? Yeah. It's going to get warmer as the day progresses, so I want to start before I get too melty. So I'm going to start by, I'm so scared to do it, taking my Taunton Dean cuttings. Now, I'm not going to show you this bit, I'm going to show you when I'm outside the shed potting them up. But all I'm going to do is, if you remember from that previous video, I've got one branch left on my Taunton Dean plant. So I'm literally just going to go and cut that off now and bring it back to the table and start finding the bits I can use as cuttings. Come on, let's go and get some Taunton Dean. It's a whopper. Look at the size. Now, there's got to be, yeah, there's got to be some good cutting material here. Yay! Right, where am I going to put it? No room for it. Let me rest it there a second. Next to Paul's lovely brassicas. Let's get snipping. It's so quiet and still this morning. It's beautiful. It's Sunday, so generally Sunday mornings here are a bit quieter. People tend to come down more towards sort of lunchtime or after lunch, but even so, the faintest of faint breezes, and every now and again it's catching on Jim's wind chime. I should call it my Jim's chime. Lovely. I think also, I know from a couple of plot neighbours I've spoken to, people are actually starting to go away again. Excuse me. So a lot of my plot neighbours are either retired or semi-retired, and they're very outward boundy type people, so they're always off skiing, walking, what have you, and I think that's what's begun to happen again. Fine by me if I get the whole site back to myself. Right, I said I wasn't going to be chatty. It's a bit hard to show where I'm going to take these cuttings from, but essentially, I'm kind of approaching it almost like my tomato side shoots. So where I've got the stem, and then from the stem, obviously I've got a leaf coming out here. In that axil between the stem and the leaf, that's where I've got little shoots coming from. So for now, I'm just going to get them all off, and then I can select the best looking ones. As I say, I've never done this before. I'm always a bit nervous about doing something new for the first time without guidance. I think, do you know what? Actually, it's a really quite a warm day. I am going to find some water to just put these in whilst I get them all off, because otherwise I think they're going to wilt in seconds. That's better. Fortunately, the water butt has water in it at the moment, and I didn't really have another receptacle, so this had just a couple of tea bags left in it. So they're out, that will do. Pop these beauties in there. Yeah, I suppose it's one of those days where it's really quite warm. I'm drying out again, where you wouldn't want to do this sort of job or transplants or that sort of thing, because it's a bit of the heat, the blazing sunshine on them just adds that little bit extra stress that they don't need. The other day when I took the honeysuckle cuttings, I said I was going to leave them on the table, but actually I'd forgotten. I'd got a big tray on the stoop of the shed, which, what had I had in there? Oh, I had a couple of climbing beans that had been massacred by the slugs, and I just got them there to see if they would perk up before I bothered planting them out. They didn't. The slugs finished them off. But then I thought, actually, down there is a much better place for these cuttings, because when we get into the heat and that really strong sun from sort of 2 in the afternoon, they'll be in the shade. And actually, even now in the morning, they're in slightly dappled shade, which hopefully will give them a better start. Oh, that's tiny, but let's have it out anyway. And that's where I'll put all of these too. So, have I got them all? I might as well have these really teeny tiny ones out too. Might as well. Ah, and just to say, no, I won't be selling any of these. Firstly, I don't know that they'll even work, but I know people have sort of said, oh, can you sell some? I'd be interested. I've got so many, just double checking now, I think that's it. I've got so many plot neighbours who've said they'd like a cutting that I don't think I'll have any spare. Okay, so let's have a look. You know, biggest isn't always best. but I'm just going to sort them size-wise. Let's have a look. Now what I don't know is how much to remove. Right, they're all tiddlers. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I think these will do. I'm just going to pop the tiddlers back in the water for now. They really are tiddlers. But what I'll do is, I think I've got a little bit of compost left, and if I have, I'll give them a go too. So I'm going to give them all a generous pot. What size is that? 10 centimetres. Just out of the skip, obviously. Now, what I don't know, so this is totally an experiment. Please don't do what I'm doing and expect perfect results. I've never done it before. It may not work. But what I'm going to do is get my rooting powder ready. And I think just remove these lower leaves which are going to be below the surface of the soil. Quite tough. Give it a dib. If you didn't see when I was doing the honeysuckles, this isn't hormone rooting powder. I don't want to be using hormone rooting powder. It's an organic rooting powder that essentially it's seaweed, pretty much. So yeah, just get that in there. Give it a really good firming. At the moment, it looks beautiful, doesn't it? I can guarantee in a couple of hours with the sun on it, it's going to have drooped. So I'm going to get it somewhere shady pronto. I'll get them all in the tray and then, top water or bottom water. I think I'll give them a top water. Okay, so likewise with this one, just remove these leaves which will be below the surface. Give it a dib. Give it a really good firm. I do not want these rocking around. I may even, because at the moment obviously there's no root to anchor it, and we are a windy site, and even down here by the shed, that's pretty much my most sheltered spot, there is a chance that they're going to be rocked around a load, and that it's not going to. Brassicas hate being rocked around by the wind. So just at this stage, I may even put a little bit of bamboo stick, bit of broken bamboo. Don't need one that long. You know, this sort of job. Yeah, pop that in. I'm going to tie it to the stake just so it's got a chance to get those roots going. I hope this works. I so hope this works. As I was saying in that other vid, honestly, this has given me leaves. Well, there's not really much to remove. It's given me so many fantastic feeds, and I must say thank you to Jimmy in the first place for sending this to me. I don't know if you remember, it was November 2018, I think, that I planted it. It's just a little wee scrap of a thing. And I thought, can it possibly do anything? Yeah, it did. And then some. So I will be a very happy bunny if I can even get one of these to take. I'll be even happier if I can get all 4 to take, because then I can gift some to my plot neighbours. Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to give them all the water, settle them down there in the shade, and the next job, it's going to be a grunter. I'm going to go and dig out what remains. I'm going to take my saw with me because it's so thick. I've no idea what the root system will be like down there, bearing in mind that it's been in for 18, 19, nearly 20 months. But you know what? Let's go and, oh, that's a nice bit of respite actually, the cloud coming over. Yeah, let's get it dug out and then we can experience the roots together. I'm a big fan of looking at my plant's roots. Looking at your plant's roots tells you so much about the plant. For instance, I've shown it before, but when you take out your tomatoes at the end of the season, where you've sunk them deeper, you will see all that lovely new root growth that came off the side of the plant. Having a look at the roots can show us, you know, how deep are the roots, how shallow are they. That gives you a clue for, say, next year for watering. If you've got plants with really shallow roots, you think to yourself, that might need watering more frequently than those with really deep roots. If you've got plants and the roots are this way, that might tell you you've watered too much, the roots have sat on the surface, or it might just mean that that's the natural habit of the plant, they need a bit more space. So yeah, I love looking at my plant's roots and just getting that little bit more information from them for future reference. Right, let's go and get muscly. Where to start? Actually, I'm going to start by having off this little rope I made. Yeah, I did this with, is it too tangled? I don't really want to cut it because it did take me a while to braid. There we go. 6 strands of jute braided to make a stronger support, because when I put it on you can see it's slack now, but this was leaning right out over my path. Can I have it all off? Oh, fiddly fiddly. There we go. Yeah, it's nice and strong. Definitely want to save that. Really strong. Right then, gloves. Let's get the riddle out of the way. I don't know why my riddle ended up down there. I think... Honestly, it's such a chunky monkey. I think what I'll do is I'll just get rid of some of this from the top first. I don't know why I brought my secateurs. That was a little bit hopeful, wasn't it? Use the saw, Vivi. Get your fork out of the way. Oh, ground's like... Oh, this is going to be... just popping the fork in. Rock. That little support cane. It's hanging in midair, not doing anything. Look at this. I mean, you'll know anyway from every year taking your brassicas out, but I mean it's like wood. It's actually, I look at this and I find it phenomenal and astonishing that this was growing and producing so magnificently. Amazing. You know, was it the Victorians or the Edwardians used to keep their brassica stalks, dry them out, morning rusty, varnish them and then use them as walking sticks. You see why they're so solid. Now, I'm going to leave that much. Oh, the little label. Look. Love it. Taunton Dean. For Vivi. Thank you, Jimmy. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, I'm going to leave this length because that might help me with a bit of leverage. I'm going to bring you in closer so as it's coming out you can have a look at the roots with me. Now obviously I want to be mindful of the rhubarb here, but that, where the plant is here, that was the very edge of the division, so Where's that grass coming from? Out, darn grass, out I say. And then also I've got the grapevine behind it. I think I probably need to now just try and do something to encourage it to go up the fence. Yeah, I'll deal with that later, but I'll definitely deal with that today too. So, like I said, because I've never grown one before, I have no idea of the spread of roots. Okay, let's go from this side so I can get between it and the rhubarb. This rhubarb only went in a few months ago, so I'm not harvesting from it this year. Oh, I think that's got it. By George, I think she's got it. Oh, let's have a look. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, it spread a little bit further, probably towards the grapevine, but whatever's snapped off can just rot in the soil now. We'll get some soil off so you can see. Okay, massive. Oopla, I'm just going to take my glasses off because they're slipping off my nose. Obviously, massively thick stem. And then there's my root system. So actually, it's not, hang on, I can't see what you're seeing. It's not very deep. It's definitely sort of gone sideways a bit. So that's something to bear in mind if my cuttings take and I plant them down at the end of the cold frame like I'm thinking of, just to think where within that space to plant it to give enough space for these spreading roots. My goodness, what a whopper. Actually, that's come out really quite easy. I didn't think it would. So all these smaller bits now, I'll get them chopped off and chopped up to go in the compost, but I think this section might be added to the little rotting wood area behind my shed, because I don't think there's any way I'm going to be able to chop that up. Good. Oh, I've made a hole. Fabulous. Pop it back there for the minute. Oh, warm. The job I didn't get around to the other day, it was on my list. Oopsie. Oh la la. Was to sort my compost bin again. I'm using my fake Felcos to chop this, and the difference between the fakes and the reals, unbelievable. Anyway, yes, I didn't get around to doing this the other day. And as I was mentioning, in the bottom of here, I've got some fairly dry stuff. And in the top of there, I've got some really soggy stuff. So I want to mix them together. The easiest way, Vivi, get on. What it is the little break, the little catch that holds them closed. It swings shut with almost every cut. So you have to stop and open it again. This is the leftover from where I've done the cuttings. And if you're wondering why I'm not taking it home to eat, it's because it was covered in white fly again. Fortunately, the cuttings weren't. Yeah, so the easiest way to deal with this is to take it all off, turn it into the other bin. In, I think it was the middle of May, on that day when I was waiting for my compost delivery, yeah, I spent hours chopping all the brassicas, the old brassicas. Literally it was hours, plus some of the chard and a few other little bits and pieces, and basically filled these two bins. I've been continuing to add and add and add, but amazingly I've gone from two bins, not quite 2 months ago, barely half a bin, well, no, 2/3 of a bin today. I can see though that it is, you can't see, can you? I might tip you down a bit. Hold on, let me see what you're seeing. See if I can adjust you a bit. There we go. Yeah, you can see how it's starting to get there towards the bottom. Hoopla. So yeah, I want to be a bit more just a bit more precious about this year, and just make sure that I keep turning, keep mixing where I've got the browns and the greens. I have purposely tried to keep it moist, especially sort of, where were we, sort of end of May through beginning of June. However, I think in some places it's perhaps a bit too moist. But it is getting there, it's breaking down, and this will be great stuff to add to my, what will become my ex-onion beds, because they're becoming my brassica beds. Yeah, that is, I've got quite a soggy patch here, so I'm going to add some of my, I've still got a bit of leftover cardboard. Yeah, let's get adding that. Good job. Yeah, it's well wet on this corner. Well, it's round, you can't have a corner. Yeah, never mind mixing cakes. This is my kind of mixing. I'll have to keep an eye on this whole wetness thing, because I think probably what I've done is I was so paranoid after last year's straw rather than compost. I think I've just been adding too much water. So there's my lesson learned. Another lesson learned. Just put my fork in, have a little rummage around first. And if it's really quite wet, don't add any water, Vivi. No water, Vivi. Of course, by this time of year, with the garden planted, I'm not adding my wee to the compost, because I'm using it out in the garden as my fertiliser. So that's not the issue, it's definitely the watering can loads. But it's looking alright. Put it this way, each forkful doesn't have recognisable pieces in it anymore. Yeah, it's really wet. Okay, well, hopla, come on. This is going to take me a little while. I'm getting hotter and hoffier and puffier, which no one needs to see. So let me get this finished and then we're going to move over here. It's going to be like concrete. Never mind, we'll do it. This little area, it's a long overdue job. It was always meant to be a sort of a permanent bed that I wouldn't need to touch, but I've got a bit of grass and a bit of bindweed in there, and because I want to make space for the Taunton Dean, it makes sense to me to get in there now, dig those roots out, get that problem solved before I put the Taunton Dean in, and a massive prune of the rosemary. Where to go back to? I mean, I literally want to get rid of half of it. Oh, gotcha. It's tough. Now, this year, and I don't know what it is, so I'll have to do some looking up. Can you see how it's just kind of yellowing in places? Actually, that one's not quite so obvious. Let me show you. Obviously, all this rosemary I'm taking out today is going to come home with me to be dried and harvested. God. I might need to get the saw out again. Yeah, maybe it's a bit more clear here. Oopla. Can you see this yellowing? I've no idea what that is. I'm going to have to, I've never had it before, so I'm going to have to look that up. Yeah, not sure how if it's something that will affect the plant. Is that something that's on its way to killing the plant? I don't know. Crikey, I think I might have to get the saw right in here. Oh, no. Just snap it, Vivi. You can see, hopefully, how just creating a whole lot more space. God. Gotcha, come on. Yeah, a lot more space for, hopefully, a new Taunton Dean. And I'm being totally indiscriminate with these cuts. I'm obviously going back into very woody bits. What I might do later on is just come back and neaten that up a bit, cut it back a bit more, neatened up. I'm using my Facos, so I think, I don't want to use my real ones on such gnarly wood. Okay, that will do for now. Now let's see what this ground is like. I literally have not touched this ground in 5-6 years or so. Gird yourselves. Yeah. Obviously, I've just previously, just before I started filming, I pulled out all the love in a mist that was over, so there'll be a ton of seeds down there. And what I want to do is find, there it is. That's the bindweed that has been, and there's another clump there. Oh, of course, it's right next to the cold frame. So I will go down as far as I can with those clumps to see how much I can get out. But here we go. Oh, it's tough. Really, I just want to loosen it as much as
I need to get the roots of the grass out, because this is couch grass. You get these nasty roots which spread and spread and spread. So that's what I'm going to try and get out today. This isn't about digging a bed to make a beautiful bed. This is about getting these pernicious weed roots out. And couch grass to me is a weed. Oh, it's a stone. Oh, there's a bit of bindweed here too. Easy does it, Vivi. Easy does it. Let's get a bit up. Shake a bit. Oh, this is a perfect example of the couch grass. So that's what we see above ground. And that's how we see it below ground. So do you see how it goes along on these, I think they're called rhizomes, aren't they? Look, it's putting out new ones here and here. So if you just pull at it, all you're going to do is break it off and leave this rhizome in. And that is going to give you a whole load more grass. So it's one of those things with these, like I say, with these pernicious weeds. Don't just be pulling stuff off like I just did there. That was just in the wood. Yeah, don't just be pulling at the tops of them, because you're actually not doing yourself any favours, and you're not actually addressing the problem. Ah, that's one of the bulbs. Now that is the leucodium that didn't come up. I'll try and find the others, and I think I'll move them back into the herb bed end, because they didn't do anything. I think they were just too swamped out. Where is that bindweed? There's one here. Oh, another bulb. I'm finding treasure. Yay. Look, it's here. It's this big clump here. Can you see that? Just get this soil loosened. Let me show you. So this bit of bindweed is actually going on. Actually, they both are. They're both going under this path. Obviously, I'm not going to dig my path up. I mean, the thing with bindweed is you're pretty much never going to get rid of it organically. However, digging out at this stage, digging out as much as possible will really weaken it, and from that point, after a good dig now to get it out and weakening it, when it does come back, it will be much, look at the roots on that, it will be much weaker and much more easy to manage, to pull out. See that more couch grass roots showing there. Okay, well, I'm going to crack on with this. Look for the bulbs while I'm at it, and then probably rejoin you all in the shed for a nice cool glass of water. Come on, Vivi, work. See, I'm just shaking the soil off so I can trace that back, and then, gosh, that's always deeply satisfying. And that I think is yeah, that's one of the bindweeds. Yeah, more bindweed. Right, yeah, shut up, Vivi, and crack on. I do like it when a plan starts to come together. So, good stuff. Taunton Dean out. The dregs of this compost bin I've just sort of slightly forked in here. Beginning to get that ready for the rhubarb, currently in the herb bed. That'll go in the autumn. I've given the grapevine a little bit of support. Hopefully, now it's not completely overshadowed by the Taunton Dean, it'll get away. Chuffed to get that all turned and into there. Yeah. I know there's a few dry looking bits in the top, but believe me, it's really moist in there. Good stuff, jam packed. That'll be half empty again in a few days. And and yeah, I'm really pleased to do this little bit. It's been bugging me for ages. The massacre of the rosemary. There's still masses there though for me to harvest from. I will neaten it up. I've just very loose, for the most part, loosely forked this over to find those other bulbs, and also just to break it up a bit so that some rain can get in. What I will probably do once we have had some rain, because this is for the Taunton Dean. Those cuttings, I don't know how long they'll take, but I would imagine this is going to be an autumn job. So I'll leave it open for now. Once we've had some good rain, I'll just lightly fork through it again to make sure I've got out as much, every last possible scrap of couch grass and bindweed as I can. I've given it a good go today, also by forking it. All the little the annual weed seeds will throw up again. But I'll give it one little go through, and then just before I'm getting ready to plant the Taunton Deans, fingers crossed for the cuttings, I'll nick a load of compost, dig a hole, put the compost in readiness for the Taunton Dean. I've got to tell you though, goodness me, it's a hot, sticky day today. It's not that hot. I'm just going to park my bum for a minute. It's not that hot, but it's humid. Oh, such a beautiful sight. You know, I'm really glad to get stuck into all that today. When I start to have an idea or a plan, I do like to put it into action. And in the past, I'm just going to bring you around to me. Red rays. In the past, some of my sort of plans, jobs have taken me ages to do, like the fence and deck. That took me about a year to get round to. In fairness, I was waiting to get more materials to do it with. But yeah, I like, once I've made a decision, I like to just get on with it. It isn't those changes today, that's it for now, because, well, there are two things. There are three things. One, I've got to wait for my Taunton Dean cuttings to take, I hope. Two, I'm going to wait till the autumn to move my mum's rhubarb from the herb bed to just here behind me. You can't show you. So that'll be an autumn job. And three, I need time to find whatever that receptacle will be for sinking for my little teeny tiny pond. And actually, since that video, when I was editing that last video, I thought about it. I'm probably going to keep the really shallow dish as well as the pond, just because I think for lots of our small flying insects, I think that's easier for them to get a drink from than, say, a deep bowl of water. Because when I do a deeper bowl, I will put something in there as a slope for things to crawl out from, but I don't have enough pebbles to have a deep bowl and then have half of it, say, one side filled with so many pebbles that they come to the surface, so there's somewhere for the bees, butterflies, for example, to alight on. So yeah, I think I'm probably going to keep the little bowl too, so they can have a drinking station and a bathing, swimming station. Yay! Right, well, I've got loads more to do today. Mostly it's quite boring stuff, as in it's too boring to show you. It won't bore me, but it's too boring for a video. Because we had all that drizzle, of course, the grass has grown again. Yay! Oh, it's so nice to see some green in the paths after months of yellow paths. So it's time for me to do some strimming and some trimming. I will probably check on all my tomatoes again. Just as I was walking down my far path at the top end, I noticed some of my squash, the climbing squash, which I tied in about 4 days ago, have grown. They need a bit more help.
So yeah, I'm now going to have a blissful few hours of tinkering. So I'm going to say cheerio to all of you. The sun's trying to come out. Yeah, cheerio to all of you. I will see you. Oh, I know what I'm going to do next time I see you. Can't wait, can't wait, can't wait. Next time I see you, we're going to go pirate treasure hunting. Arr, we're going to go digging for spuds. Well, digging for some of them. And then the ones just here in the grow bag, I ain't going to be doing no digging. I'm going to be doing some tipping. So I will see you then. In the meantime, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and enjoy your precious garden moments. Bye for now.